Welcome to the All About PT Podcast, episode number 2. The All About PT Podcast is brought to you by OrthoCore Physical Therapy with offices in North Kingstown and Westerly. They are your go-to spot for all your physical therapy needs in the state of Rhode Island, and if you feel like traveling outside of the state of Rhode Island. If you mention the podcast, you will be offered a free fitness screening or a free injury screening. So if you're looking to get in but not sure if you want to dip your toes in the water, make sure you mention the podcast, and we'll be happy to get you in and take a look at you and see what's going on and get you setting in the right direction. So the second episode is all about that little bedtime story, all about golfers. So this is the first of our of many to come, based upon just reading our blog posts. So it just gives you a different way to consume the media, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening to the All About PT Podcast.
It's the All About PT Podcast. Here's your host, award-winning physical therapist and fitness guru, Ian Manning.
And boom, we're live. Welcome to the All About PT Podcast, episode number 2. So what we're going to do on this podcast, and I am streaming live as I speak, because there's nobody else here but you and me. I'm speaking to myself into a microphone in my basement. But this is how we're doing it. This is how we roll. So what we are going to do for the All About PT Podcast number 2 is a read aloud. So the first episode, I kind of introduced the podcast, and this episode, I'm going to get into what I call a read aloud. So we produce blogs twice a month, and if you don't know that, then A, follow Facebook because we post it to Facebook, B, check the website regularly, or C, subscribe to our newsletters, because all three avenues will give you those blogs as soon as they're released. But I realize that not everybody is on Facebook and not everybody's reading, and sometimes people just like to consume media through a podcast, which is why I'm doing this. So what I plan on doing with this podcast is a mix of interviews, but also a read aloud of our blogs. So that way, if you're traveling in the car, you can get the information that way. And then the second episode of the read aloud, followed by kind of the discussion portion. The discussion portion is going to be either myself talking about the blog post that I wrote, and or myself talking with one of my employees who wrote the blog post. So it'll be kind of nice to get like a more in-depth, thought-provoking conversation about why we wrote the blog post, what we really think about the topic, and kind of more of the in-depth look to that blog post, so you get a little bit more information. We can't put everything into a post because A, it'll get too lengthy, B, it'll get boring because it's too lengthy, and C, it would take us forever to write those. So here is the first installment of the All About PT podcast read aloud, and it is of the most recent blog post that I wrote about golf overuse injuries. So I just posted this blog post, I feel like I'm saying post a lot, last week, and it basically comes down to golfers getting overuse injuries at the end of the season. So without further ado, pour that cup of tea and enjoy this live read aloud of golf overuse injuries posted September 15th, 2020. The year 2020 has been a doozy, to say the least. The one constant that has run through all the changes and new regulations was golf. Well, at least one that I pay attention to the most. Golf rounds are up 20% this year due to courses being able to be open and a majority of people working from home, quote unquote. It's amazing how people were able to fit in golf between their Zoom meetings while still staying productive at work. Heavy sarcasm. Regardless of your position on workflow and efficiency, if you're a golfer, there is a good chance you have played more golf this season than you ever have. As a result, there is more wear and tear on your body, and I want to be sure to end your season the right way, injury-free and ready for next year. Top 3 golf overuse injuries. Golf is an overuse injury generator. Anytime you do a repetitive movement over a long period of time throughout a season, you are overusing your body. I thought the best way to keep you healthy and golfing was to give you the top 3 golf-related injuries that I see and how to treat them. Number 1 is back pain. Odds are, if you're a golfer, you have dealt with some amount of back pain during or after your round. Most likely, it was just a simple strain and you were able to manage it with ice and ibuprofen. There is nothing wrong with that approach. My issue with that approach is why deal with the pain when you can play without it? In 99% of back pain cases I treat, the player doesn't stretch and doesn't do enough core work. The simple solution is to stretch your hips and your thoracic spine. preferably before and after you play. That will make sure you aren't swinging around a restriction and placing strain on your spine. Doing some planks and some pelvic control exercises will do enough to keep your spine strong to be resilient against the repetition of the golf swing. If you want a simple program to do, contact me and I will be happy to send you a PDF with the best exercises to do. Injury number 2 is elbow pain. They don't call it golfer's elbow for nothing. Golfers deal with elbow pain all the time. Most manage it with injections, ice, and ibuprofen. Elbow pain is not as easy to fix as back pain. Exercises and stretches will help, but there's usually a deeper problem with your swing that leads to the strain on your elbow. The easiest approach to start with is strengthening and flexibility exercises for your wrists. The second step is paying attention to your grip pressure. I've found in a majority of clients with elbow pain that they grip the club way too hard, myself included. Try letting go of that pressure and see if that helps. Lastly, if the previous 2 steps don't work, you should consult with the swing and/or health professional to make some changes to your golf swing. As a PT, it's easy to fix elbow pain. It's much harder to make sure it doesn't come back. That is where the swing work will come into effect and make sure that the elbow pain isn't an issue for seasons to come. If you are looking for some wrist elbow exercise to help, contact me, and I would be happy to send you a PDF with my favorite exercises for elbow pain. Number 3 is shoulder pain. Much like the elbow, the shoulder takes a lot of abuse in the swing. If you have pain in your shoulder when you play, it is more likely there is something wrong with your golf swing. Just like the elbow, though, we can start with some exercises and see where it takes us. Just like the lumbar spine, if you aren't flexible in the thoracic spine, you're putting extra pressure on your shoulder when you swing. If your rotator cuff isn't strong enough, the impact of the golf club hitting the ball and ground can travel up your arms and stress the shoulder joint. The solution? Stretch your T-spine and strengthen your rotator cuff. If that doesn't work, then it's time to see a swing coach to see what part of your golf swing is causing your shoulder pain. Just like the injuries listed above, if you want exercise to correct the imbalances, contact me. I would be happy to send you a PDF of common exercises that I give my golfers with shoulder pain. So what should you do? If you have noticed one common thread through the 3 most common injuries is that you should stay as strong and flexible as you can. Dealing with overuse injuries can be frustrating, especially if you want to keep playing. The best defense is to do a warm-up before you play and stretch after you play. On top of that, you can get a basic workout program you can do 3 times a week to keep your body the best shape possible to prevent overuse injuries. The best way to prevent overuse injuries is to start with a golf fitness screen. I know a guy. That's me. That way, you know exactly what you need to work on. The TPI screen that I do with all my golfers tells me what areas of your body are tight and what areas are weak. Knowing that, I can develop an exercise program that is specific to your needs. That way, you have something to work on this off-season to be sure you don't develop overuse injuries next season. If you're interested in scheduling a golf fitness screen, or if you want PDFs for any of the injuries that I listed above, please contact me. I'd be happy to work with you and look forward to working with you. The End. Written by Ian Manning, Masters of Science in Physical Therapy and TPI Certified Golf Fitness Professional. So that is the conclusion of episode number 2. Stick around for episode number 3, where I'm going to get into a more in-depth discussion about those 3 common areas of injury: the back, the shoulder, and the elbow. Talk about some of those exercises, and then talk more about the golf swing and how a problem in your golf swing can really lead to all of those common injuries in golf. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast of this episode of the All About PT podcast. Please subscribe, because there are going to be a lot of great episodes coming down the pike with interviews, with more discussion. I really envision this being an all-around great podcast for people just looking for great information surrounding health and fitness. That's all I got for you this time. Thanks for listening, and we will check you next time on the All About PT podcast.